You are listening to the Hammersy Brothers e-commerce podcast. Like what you hear and want to take the shortcut on your e-commerce growth? Join hundreds of brands that work with us and head over to joinhb.com. That's joinhb.com and see how we can help you further. Join our members and smash your targets and unlock the profits within your e-commerce site. Good morning, Ian. How are you?
Yeah, well, good evening. Good evening from England. You're obviously New Zealand. I think people know this now. Hopefully. It doesn't make any difference.
I'm about to come over to England, and usually when I come over to England, you'd think that we could do more podcasts as we're in the same country. Last time I came over, we did 0 podcasts, and we had a massive gap. So, this might be the last podcast for a while. Who knows?
Don't say that. It's all I have to look forward to. These joys of the podcasts. I mean, what are people going to listen to when they're, going to sleep at night?
I've got all the stuff with me. I've got lights and stuff, so I've got everything. That we
hey, listen, I'm still reading from the newspaper article of your. We had an article written in the Telegraph, and I think you were very pleased with the picture that I sent them to feature in the.
That was the photograph that when we went to Singapore, and this is probably not very interesting to people, that was a photograph that you took of me that you stuck on your Instagram, and then it convinced me that I needed to actually go to the gym and actually work out. So it was like the photo that was me at my worst. And that is the photo they use in the national newspaper. Amazing.
Yeah, it was a big picture, wasn't it?
Yes. I was like... Okay.
It gave me secret. I mean, I was very pleased that they chose that of all the photographs they could have chosen. They chose that.
Yeah, brilliant.
Okay. Well, for anybody who wants to know, they did an article on siblings running businesses in different countries. And actually they featured the Mustard Maid as well. The sisters from Mustard Maid. The locker brand.
No, I don't know anything about that.
Of course you do. Oh my God. Come on. Do you know anything about homeware? Got loads of customers who anyway, forget it.
That's why I go to the UK every year just to catch up on all the stuff.
God, last time you came, you don't let Mark in the Trafford Centre. Like he's been
all closed.
Kid with his, no, because you're like a kid in a sweet shop. Shops.
Anyway, we've got a topic and we've got a podcast to do. So
get on with it.
What we did is we audited 100 e-commerce brands, and we've come up with the reasons why they stop growing. So we've come up with the most common reasons we see that they stop growing. So we've got 7 points we're going to go through, and we're just going to go through this on the podcast. Okay. So I think you should talk a little bit, introduce us into it as well.
Yeah. Well, yeah. When we say we've audited 100 e-commerce brands, I mean, we've worked with thousands over the years, and I think you probably got your PA to go and look at the 100 and look at the notes that we wrote many times over, and what were the highlights and the things that did it. So anybody who knows us, the thing that we do, the Hammersy Brothers model, is we do a deep dive first. So whenever we meet a new business, we always do a deep dive. And the deep dive is we are looking at 3 things. We're looking at the numbers, we're looking at the revenue per visitor, we're looking at the ads, and we're looking at the competitors in the market. And then we always put they're the 3 things we do. So when we do the deep dive is we are writing down what we think their bottleneck is. And the bottleneck is the problem. The bottleneck is the thing that stops them growing. And the bottleneck it sounds really obvious, isn't it? But so many times when we have done the kickoff meetings with these e-commerce businesses, we'll ask them, what do you think the bottleneck is in your business? And I know by looking at the numbers what the bottleneck is. And when you ask the owner of the business, you go, what's the bottleneck? And they go, well, we think it could be this. And you in your head, you're going, that's not it. That's not it. And it can be quite obvious looking at it from obviously a fresh pair of eyes as well. So we wrote down the 7 most common reasons that people get stuck or the problem, the bottleneck. What are the 7 biggest bottleneck? And we've written them down. So
I think a lot of people listening to podcasts probably won't be massively surprised by a lot of these. I mean, it's stuff we do cover, and we've got podcasts going into a lot more detail in some of these specific areas. If you find something that resonates, we've probably done a podcast on that specific thing. But this is more of a case of just, if you're listening to this is where you should look. Okay, so first one, and we did a whole podcast series on it, which is like, you're solving the wrong problem. So you think it's traffic. A lot of people think that they have a traffic problem or an ads problem. And we did a whole series on why it might not be an ads problem, where it's actually conversion rate, AOV, margin, repeat purchase problem. More traffic just pours fuel on a weak business, effectively. And so,
I think you hear this less than you used to hear this a lot. Go back 20 years, you used to hear this a lot. I just need more traffic. I need more traffic. What I need is more traffic. And everybody, probably because of the SEO craze, search engine optimization, everyone's like, oh my God, you need more traffic. And, we quickly realized that not all traffic was equal. Some was more equal than others. There was some that we're just not going to buy. There's some that were completely waste of time. And what we wanted was the right traffic but then put them into the right shop that would then actually convert. Because, I think the case in point would be, let's say, take Cox & Cox was one of the brands that we worked with for about 10 years. And I remember Cox & Cox saying, the holy grail would be if we get to position number 1 for homewares. I think it was home gifts. I think it was something like number 1 in the UK for home gifts, and thinking that was going to be the eureka moment, and spent years and years and years and years chasing this, and eventually got there. Eventually got through some through loads of investment search, and guess what happened when they got to position 1? Nothing happened. Didn't see any increase of revenue whatsoever. And so I always say to people who come to me and say, I need more traffic, is that, well, you can get traffic. You can instantly get traffic. You can click your fingers and you could be at number 1, for paid pretty much tomorrow. If you just threw money at it, it might cost you £1 million, but you can get there. And so traffic isn't a problem. It's actually having a machine that can convert it. It's got the right conversion rate, the right average order value, and that's revenue per visitor. And so,
well, if you think about it like this,
sorry,
go ahead.
Go on then. I was going to say gun to head. Oh my God, that's ridiculous. There must be a delay. So I will not wait for your permission to speak now. My brother. So gun to head, somebody said to me, and I teach some of the guys this, doing the the preliminary call, and I say, if the revenue per visitor, which is simply the average order value times by the conversion rate percentage, is less than $5, right? It's below average, and in the UK, let's say £4, right? So if you are lower than that, it can indicate that you have a conversion or average order value problem. Because and that's the first thing you got to do. Is it the ads? Is it the site? So I think basically what we're saying is, do not obsess over more and more and more and more traffic. Focus on making sure you're getting the right revenue out of the current traffic. Always think that is that, go and make sure because you've got people in the shop. So if you had a physical store on the high street, a bricks and mortar store, you've got people in the shop buying, looking, browsing, coming in and out of the shop, focusing on those. Whereas you're outside with a bloody billboard trying to get them in. They're already in. So
well, that kind of makes sense.
That's
how you think about it. That's how you think about it. Like if you were a shop on the high street and you say, this shop, we need to do better, we need more traffic. The only way you get more traffic would be to actually move the shop to a busier area. To move the shop to a busy area, you have to pay more rent. So therefore, you don't go, how can I just get more people in the shop? You go, how can I afford this model to be able to afford to put it into a busier area? So with e-commerce, When people go, I just want more traffic, what they're actually saying is, I want cheaper traffic. I just want traffic to appear for less money and it just magically appear. And it's like, well, if you were on the high street, you wouldn't think like that. You wouldn't just think that I'm going to get a magic deal with the landlord to have half the rent of everybody else on the busy part of the high street. You actually have to produce a model that actually means you can actually get on that busy place and justify it. So, or you have to do some type of marketing that gets people to go out of their way to come to you where you are, which is having a unique problem that you solve. And
niche, a specialism,
niche, a specialism, like a market. So you can't just, like, I hear this a lot with the startups. They come, I've got everything. If I just had more traffic, everything would work. And it's like, well, why should Google and Facebook and the big people give you traffic over everybody else? Like, you have to compete on the same stage as everybody else. No one's going to just give it to you.
I think the elixir is that, we'll get SEO. We don't want to pay for it. Well, you think you've got significantly less chance to get any meaningful SEO results unless you're doing some localization stuff, unless you're like Skip Hire Longton, which you might have a chance. But basically, if you're coming into a market and there's bigger players, you have absolutely no chance to get any SEO traction. It's much harder for you to go and get any, and you might be talking years and years and years. Forget it. You've got to prove that you can chuck some ads at it and make it work. I mean, that's a bold thing to say, but I honestly, if I was starting an e-commerce business tomorrow,
AI recommendation at the moment, and that's
a different conversation. Yeah, different conversation. Yeah, but it will soon become the same.
Eventually, we'll work out how to monetize it. It'll work out how to monetize it. Everything does. It eventually becomes monetized, doesn't it? And it becomes those people who've got the best model win.
Okay.
Number two.
Yeah. Number two is you're spreading yourself too thin. Yeah. Spreading yourself too thin. So what we mean is that you're a busy fool in a way. You're in the busy trap. You've got too many products, too many campaigns, too many channels. I mean, the classic one, never mind too many campaigns, but the classic one is you're doing too many ad channels when you're too small and you've got too many products. I mean, they're the two things that we see people making this mistake of time and time and time again. Particularly to be honest, they're both equal, both 50-50, aren't they? Like, you're seeing people who are, not really dominating either one channel. First of all, the question would be, do you know if you're predominantly a Google business or a Meta business, or what your ratio should be? I mean, that's an interesting question that you should be defining now. Would be, should I spend more on Facebook? Should I spend more on Google? And I'm not even talking about, TikTok or any of the others. But I think you should be thinking about that. Where am I getting the best return? And make sure that you're owning that channel, like you're really owning it. I mean, we did a workshop on one of our businesses, and because we always say, look, until you're doing £1 million, don't bother with multiple channels. You stick to the one that you're getting the return, and you really optimizing it. And so much growth to do £1 million from one paid channel is nothing in the grand scheme of things. It's nothing, is it? In terms of how big you can get. So, do you need to, let's say you're doing £500,000 and you think, what I need to do now is add another channel and I'm going to get another.
You see people do it
you're
when
not
they get
even
to like
scratching
10.
the surface. Yeah.
They get to like $5,000 a month revenue and they go, I need to start doing Facebook. I need to start doing Google. I need to start doing TikTok. And it's like, what are you doing? Like you're just diluting your effort. The other side of spreading yourself too thin, and I've seen this quite a lot, is I've come into businesses that have grown and the founder has convinced themselves that only they can do the support of the emails because their product is too complicated. And they have been adamant that is the case. And I have brought people in and
but Mark,
shown them.
Our customers are different. Mark, our customers, they're not like other customers. Our customers, that if we change the price, if we do an offer or we change the price, Ian, they'll know. You know, they're not like other customers. They come and tell me. How many times have you? How many times have you heard that?
Well, that's another case. That's another thing that sometimes people do is they listen to the very few people of the customers who moan or talk, and they design the business around those 0.01% of customers who are the loudest, and that is not what you want to do to design a business.
You've got to look at the numbers.
It's going to kill you.
And the annoying customers have a disproportionately loud voice in your head, and you've got to be careful. And that's
one of the reasons you've got to get out of support, because they will influence you massively. Like
before you know it, you'll be having check boxes on the bloody checkout saying, "Please note, we agree.
Warning: do not buy from us
anything.
because you may not get it today."
Ever.
It's like ever, and it's like, you cannot return this product ever. Anyway, that is a big thing. So first of all, get yourself out of support. Your customers are not different. You can train at someone else to serve them. It might take longer with a certain more complicated product, but it's definitely possible. Don't build yourself that trap. It's a big trap. Only I can.
And like Mark and I are in the fortunate position or the privileged position to be in front of people like you. So many, thousands of e-commerce businesses that we've mentored and talked to and seen, and there isn't a single one that I think we couldn't have put a team around and try to take the owner out. There's not a single one. Number three. Yeah. Customers only buy once. So this is the third problem is that you're thinking about the customers only buy once. And I just put that in perspective, right? The profit. Okay, there'll be some of you listening to this who will be selling one-off products. Okay, so I don't want you to think that this is like a one size fits all. So if you're selling a wedding dress, it's quite difficult to get lifetime customer value out of wedding dresses, or you get referrals and things like that. That happens, or sofas and stuff. But I want you to think about, if you don't think about your retention strategy, which is how you get people to buy again, that's from your existing customers. It means you've got to go off and recruit new customers all the time. In order to grow, you've got to go off and recruit new customers. And so if you've got no back end, if you've got no retention arm, it means that the only way you're going to grow is by going out and recruiting new customers. And it's like starting again. If you're like 95% new, it's like every month you go, oh, I've got to go recruit. I've got to start again because I've got to go and find another however many 100,000 customers again. And, it becomes, exhausting really. And I think that the thing that I'll say is, let's say your CAC, your cost of acquisition is like, I don't know, $25, right? And that's what you're paying to Google or Meta at the moment. You worked out that with your margin calculator. It's $25. Well, what if we said, well, why don't you give $15 to your existing customers? As a thank you, as a VIP, hey, here's $15 as a thank you. So you're giving your existing customers $15. If you don't do that, you're going to have to go and give Meta $25 again for a new. Reward your existing customers. Treat them. So anyway, if you can,
get in the second.
And obviously,
sale.
there's get the second sale.
Get in the second sale.
Yeah.
There's lots of things we do to get the second sale. Getting the second sale has a massive leverage on your lifetime customer value. So if you focus on getting the second sale, your lifetime value will improve overall.
Yeah, and it differs across different industry. Yeah, but yeah. Okay.
Number four.
Number four is a big one. The number 4 is that you are reacting to historical data rather than managing what's happening right now in the business, in terms of trading right now. So a lot of the times we would audit an e-commerce business, and obviously part of it is we look at the team and the infrastructure and the meetings they're having, and they go, oh yeah, every Monday of the first Monday of the month, we look back at the previous month's Google report that the agency send over, or the Meta agency, and you're going, okay, we spent this, and this is the ROAS we got. And sometimes we go, oh, that was good. The ROAS was good, and you're like, okay, but you can't do anything about it because it's gone, right? So you can't look back historically at some, historical, data that, Google what the ROAS was. It's a complete waste of time. You have to look at it now. You have to be forecasting what it's going to be. Are you on trend? Are you on track? Are you going to hit your target? What's so we're saying, there's certain things that you need to look at once a month. There's certain things you look at once a quarter. There's certain things you look at once a week, but there's certain things you look at daily. And that is one of them.
We did that.
Is what
we call it the flying bridge methodology, which we talk about. Yeah. What we look at daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly. Yeah. Just to put you in the right mindset at every single time. There is so much noise in e-commerce, and it's so easy to get distracted by the noise rather than the signal. So it really needs thinking about. Okay,
Yeah.
number 5, stock. Stock is holding you back. Now, this is a big one. We fall into this trap quite often, because it is, you get better at stock forecasting, but it is always hard. And like you talked about in a different podcast, it's like a roulette wheel. Sometimes it's like, what do we
black
order?
Or red.
What don't we order? Black or red?
Yeah.
But there are, being out of stock for the same things over and over and over again, just silly. There are ways you can improve. There are ways you can get better at forecasting.
I think with that is, I think it goes hand in hand with the adding too much complexity, is like, adding too many products, and because the more products you add, the more SKUs you add, the more stock you've got to manage, the more stuff you've got sitting in your warehouse. And also, depending on what you're selling, has it got multiple sizes? Has it got multiple color variants? And also how big the season is and the lead time, because you all hear, I don't know if you hear this, but a good stock rotation in a year is 6 times. Right. But in some businesses, that's not possible. There's some very successful businesses that
done at Christmas or.
Yeah. So, there's many rules to it, but I think what can happen is that we can finally get the ads working. You get the revenue per visitor working, you get the ROAS, get the ads working, and then you go, oh, we've run out of stock. Like, oh God, got to go back again. So you've got to have a model and a system of knowing. Stock forecasting is quite straightforward, really, but I think the biggest thing to do is understand how it relates to the ads and the scalability and the cash flow. Also, the forecast,
the potential. If you over order your best sellers, it's much easier to get rid of them to sell them out, compared to if you over order new stock lines that might not never sell. So if you always want to err on the side of ordering more bestsellers, because they will always sell because people want them. Whereas if you go and say, oh, I'm going to order all these new colors and try these things, they're the things that you have to get rid of because nobody wants them. And they sit in the warehouse for years sometimes. And you suddenly go, we've really got to get rid of these somehow. And, if you can't sell them on your website, you have to stick them on eBay, don't you? And then it's not good for the brand if you've got all this weird coloured stock going out to the market.
They used to slash it out, discounts on. It's an absolute nightmare. To keep it simple, be careful. Yeah, be really careful. Obviously, work with your suppliers as well. Okay.
Yeah.
Number 6. Yeah, founder as the bottleneck.
Yeah.
Obviously, that is a big part. That's a big part. I mean, look, there was a time when the founder has to be driving it all, right? And that is when you're in the validation stage, which is the 0 to 100. And even then, the next stage, which is like the focus stage, which is 100 to 500K. And, but I think it then flips to becoming the curse and, the founder of the bottleneck, because, you are, I mean, like, you touched on it before, we talked about support, but we go like, what does the founder need to do? And the founder, what does the founder not need to do? And the founder, in my opinion, is the thing that you should extract yourself from is anything that can be done by a simple team of people that doesn't need you. I mean, okay, what do I mean by that? Customer service is a classic example. But anything around the brand, the direction, the positioning, the tone, the emotions, the job to be done, the anxiety, the anxieties, the trust and credibility. Those, I mean, things like the photography, and you cannot. You've got to own those, and if you look at some of the big successful businesses, the ones that are really scaling, the founder is still there doing that core positioning, the core positioning piece around the brand and the ethos and the it's the job to be done. The dominoes, the 6 dominoes, it's the job to be done, and the anxiety. That's where they stay, and that's where they should stay.
I think that what I try to do now is, where there's a problem, instead of just coming in and fixing it, like doing it directly, my remit now is to see how it needs to be done, work out a way to do it, and then teach the team how to do it, and then put checks in place to make sure they're doing it in the same way, so that therefore I can step away from that, and I'm not holding on to that, because there's always bits where I have to go in and I have to tweak because it goes wrong. But whereas before I just go and fix, I'm just going to take this back. I'm just going to just control this. And sometimes you do need to take things back, and you go back, but you're going in with a mindset to say, what is the system that needs to go into here? What do I need to do? How can I do the 10-80-10, which is like, I'll do the first 10%, the team will do the 80%, which is the most of the work, and I'll come and polish off with the 10%. So you've really got to remove yourself from anything that you think that is, I'm just doing the same thing I always do. Like,
can I say 2 things that I think of over the years, because we've been involved with thousands of, we've obviously mentored thousands of e-commerce businesses and been involved at a really high level with hundreds. And the 2 things that I would say is that we actually use something called Basecamp Classic, right? And there's loads of softwares out there that businesses use that are way better, way more sophisticated. But the key to getting your business, get everybody singing off the same hymn sheet, they all have to use the software in the same way. So like, there's loads of software like Team, Monday and like, bloody hell, Jira and not, all sorts of stuff like that. There's loads of them, but they're so complicated that everybody ends up using the same way. So with Basecamp Classic, which is really pretty crap, everybody has to use it in the same way. And the other thing I think was that doing Loom videos, I think became quite transformational. Being able to record screen videos and also we use that as our training, don't we? Use that to check people are doing things we want them to do. So, they have to record a Loom video of them doing certain things. Like, for example, one of our e-commerce businesses, we have a customer service team, and, you can say to them till you're blue in the face, okay, no, this is how you should respond to that message. Right, but you'll have to keep saying that to them all the time. So what you have to do is give them a beginning of day and an end of day. And in that end of day, for example, you've got to tell them what to do, and you've got to say, right, at 6:00 at the end of the day, you've got to put how many tickets you've answered, how many tickets have been unanswered, and what the result of them all, and you've got to post it, and you've got to figure out what needs to come back, how they need to run it, and it's like. You can't keep telling people individually to do certain things because you can't scale it. You've got to work out how you can build playbook, I suppose, of running your e-commerce business in a way that as a new starter, they can come in and they can go and see it and everybody knows the end of the day. I mean, there's a bit of subtlety to it, but I think Loom videos and a simple, you don't need complicated project management, in my opinion. I think you just need that, you need to have something simple.
It's a skill you've got to build. It's a skill you've got to build. So someone will come to me with someone on my team will come to me, one of my e-commerce businesses, and say, "Hey, we should start doing these types of ads, and we'll start doing this, and we'll start doing this," and it's great. And I'm thinking, okay, that sounds great. How do we systemize this? How do we build it? How are we going to do that every month? So we're not involved. So we're not, what is it distilled down to? How many creatives are we going to need? What's the difference between, and my mind now, after doing business for such a long time, that's how I think.
Yeah.
And I can see
You're very good at it,
when someone says to me, "Oh, we're going to do this," my mind's already going, well, that's going to be very difficult to roll out because of these things. Why don't we do it like this? And that's the mindset you've got to have if you want to actually build something, because otherwise you are going to be involved in every single part of the business forever, which means you're never going to grow the business. You're never going to grow. And it's hard to articulate, I guess, because it's something I know how to do. I've tried to do it in some of the modules with the SOP modules on the course and programs and things like that.
Yeah. I think it comes, like you say, we've been doing it for such a long time that it's now instinctive. But actually, when you're working with a new business, and actually when we bring on, new people into our company who are gifted and amazing at some discipline, but they're crap at putting it into a system. Can't replicate it. Can't, happens all the time.
Enthusiasm. Enthusiasm
yeah,
is
they
great.
go, so passionate. And it's like, well, that's great, but you cannot build a system. You can't. That's brilliant, but that's just noise.
Yeah. I like enthusiastic people because I like
flash in the pan.
Systemize what I can talk to them about. I go, and I'll put a framework around it.
I mean, look, we also have had tremendous success in building remote teams. Let's not give us all the credit. We have. There's a friend of ours. Your fish guy in New Zealand,
Mr. Fish.
It's good, Mr. Fish, and he was way ahead in terms of outsourcing, offshoring his e-commerce business, and I mean it all. To a team in the Philippines, actually, and he had a whole lot. It was about 50, 60 of them, and now, I mean, it's a massive business doing
his name and don't
millions.
mention his company. He will not be happy if you tell him that. Yeah,
Mr. Fish.
Yeah, Mr. Fish. This is what we'll do. So yeah, and interestingly, I tried to outsource to India. I tried to outsource to the Philippines before, and then he came along, and whilst I was floundering, he did it, and I just said to him, "Hey, let's call him Jeff. Hey Jeff, I'm just going to do exactly what you've done," and that was the model that I followed, and that's the model I now teach.
And how many years ago was that?
15 years ago now.
15 years ago, and that actually part of that core team is still here today and has become the foundations for everybody. I mean, now how many have we got people in the Philippines now?
I should know the answer to this. I can tell because I paid them all yesterday. Just 1 second.
I'm going to guess.
I don't know.
25, 30?
20?
Yeah. I mean, obviously we're running, loads of different businesses, but yeah, and actually, in our e-commerce business, we've, in the bedding business we're running right now, we've probably got about four or five as well, in addition. Anyway.
All here. I'm just trying to work out how.
It doesn't
19.
Matter. That's just 19. I think we said 30, and now you've gone to 19.
Well, I've got the people I pay. Oh, no, you've got some as well. I don't pay yours.
Yeah.
I don't pay yours.
Yeah.
So the people I pay, I've got 19.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so the seventh one.
Oh, yeah, we're still doing the podcast. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, we've got this last. Yeah, I know. God. Yeah, last point. So the seventh point was that that people apply the right strategy but at the wrong time, and it doesn't work.
Or the right strategy for the wrong business is another one.
the right strategy. Okay, well, yeah, there's two problems there, isn't there? So it's the right strategy for the wrong business, or the right or at the wrong time. So last week, or the couple of weeks, whenever I can't remember, it was last week, we talked about how the majority of e-commerce coaching or consultancy or strategy doesn't work because it's the wrong. It treats every business like they're the same. And the key to it is understanding what type of e-commerce business you are. Like, are you a compounder? Are you a volume retailer? Are you a seasonal specialist? Et cetera, et cetera. And also, what stage of revenue growth are you in? Because if you go out and copy, Gymshark's strategy of e-commerce now and they're doing 800 million, and you're, a startup, obviously it's stupid. But we all believe that, but if I go and sit in a room and listen to the founder of Gymshark, or, all of them, any of them, it's going to work. So the thing that's going to get you from the 500 to a million mark will be different to the thing that's going to get you from the million to 5, or the past the 5. Okay, so it's a different playbook depending on what stage of growth you are. Yeah, and I think yes, there are different types of e-commerce businesses out there, and obviously we've written a playbook for them. We understand which one they are, and it's really a numbers thing. But the consistency, I think, is also the stage. Like and people overcomplicate it so much. They get themselves into a model. And I think this is why they sit there running an e-commerce business and go, I don't know what to do next. And they're like running, a million miles an hour, but on, like the road runner, the cartoon character, like the big, like they're running a million miles like that, but like they're not moving anywhere. It's like, and that sounds a bit, that sounds a bit patronizing, doesn't it? But I see it a lot. They're just running, because we did go back, 15 years ago, before we, figured out what we were doing. We were flying. I was like, early 20s, late 20s, early 30s, and I was like flying around, busy. And
it's just finding those right things to push at the right times and making sure you don't get distracted. What the best thing to do, I've always found, is if you can find a business that's very similar to yourself, perhaps in a different country, that is a bit further ahead of you, at least you've got you've got a playbook. What you don't want to find is someone who's like 10 times revenue ahead of you, because that's going to be completely different. Like anytime you've got a little bit of a playbook around it, it reduces the noise so much, because you go, right, that's it. I mean, what was very difficult with a lot of our businesses is that a lot of the time we were creating them, we were either the first ones doing it, or the people around us were the same size, and there was so much noise. Whereas I think these days, a lot of e-commerce sites, there's usually a playbook of somebody that's gone before them at the very least. And I'm always surprised how
copy.
Well, I was going to say, I'm not surprised by how people don't look at them. I think people look at them, but they don't look at the right things.
Yeah.
They don't. They go, oh, they're doing this, and so we want our page like this. And it's go, well, what is their core point? What is the core market? What's the position?
Well, we go back. We use Wayback Machine, don't we? Often, go back to when I said copy, that's actually misleading, because that's we're saying don't copy the big guys, but you got to go back to the nice thing about the big guys is those big guys were at your stage once. Every single massive brand that you may at one stage love to emulate was at the same revenue that you were. And that's the thing you got to think about. What were they doing then? How did they come out into the market and grow? What were they doing? How did they position themselves? How did they steal market share?
We used to do that with Made.com. We used to look at, like, Made.com was a big company before they eventually went bankrupt. But they and they were bought by Next, I think. Anyway, we used to go back and look at how they started out 10 years ago, and they used to have a website, and it was just like buy sofas direct online and get cut out the middleman and get such a low price. And then we would then say, well, go and look at that. And then people would look back at Made and go, okay, well, we can do the same message. Well, you can't. What Made were doing was disrupting a market with a message. But you can't take the same message that worked 10 years ago because the market changed and everybody was selling direct. So you'd have to disrupt with a message to the market that was relevant to today, that worked today. What you want to get from Made is they came to the market and disrupted with a message. But you can't use the same message as Made because that was relevant 10 years ago. You have to have something that's relevant today. You have to find a need that isn't being served by the market. And that's how they got started. So it's just a little bit of nuance about what you're looking for and how you launch. Because you can go and look at all these people that in your industry that launched 10 years ago. But the thing they were attacking 10 years ago will be different. But it's the way to launch into that market is still the same. But you have to come at it with a different message. But it's still the same way you launch. It's still the way you would do a flanking strategy. You wouldn't go directly at the big competitors. You'd nibble at the heels where they don't care about the revenue, and you'd build from there, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
And
that's part of the positioning. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, hopefully people found that useful.
Yeah.
And next one, we might see us in England somewhere.
In the same room.
Yeah, it's actually really difficult to do a podcast in the same room. It's really difficult because, well, it is for us because it's just difficult to see people.
Well, you'll be down in one room.
When we moved from audio to video, that freaked me out about 6 years ago. I was like, I can't think whilst I can see his face. Yeah, but you get used to it.
Yeah, that's bad. I know. To put a piece of paper over your face. It's ridiculous.
So weird.
I'm not as bothered now.
Yeah.
Just ignore
all right
you.
now. Get used to it.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, guys.
Okay.
I'll speak to you all soon.
Bye.
Cheers.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.